Hello friends, welcome to today's video. My name is Maddie Lynn. Thank you for tuning in. This is what I call the IC channel because we individually share the space of perspective that collectively grows our awareness. So I see, we see, VI allows the process to perceive. And when we share, we get there. Where? Here. Presence, the endless endeavor. And I love the metaphors of sailing upon the sea to and for the vastness of this reality. So anyways, there's lots to talk about endlessly. And the last little while of life, I could say a couple days, or I could say like 27 years. The last little while of life has made beginning in this container even more challenging. And I think that's the opportunity to move with. There's a challenge here. I have a lot to say. It's not just me, other voices are wanting to come forward and be witnessed and brought to the light. And it's that challenge, that struggle that brings me here today. Because I've really had a hard time getting in front of the camera and I never know how to start and I have a hard time. So that being said, doesn't matter. I'm a maybe stammer and skip things or talk about stuff that's hard to talk about, and that's okay. The whole point is that we're here for it, and by showing up, we've done the hardest part. So, to start, I figured I would bridge a bit of the space with my personal story. Where have I come from? Where am I now? Good questions, Maddie. So these days I joke when someone's like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, the now moment. I'm from the now moment. Oh yeah, the now moment. I've been saying it for a little while and it actually is a hoot and a half to have someone's response. Some people are like, and some people are like, oh yeah. It just depends who I'm talking to. And what I mean by that in its entirety is that I'm currently on the mainland in Burnaby, yo, what up? And I had been on the island, Courtney, Comox, Cumberland area mostly. A little bit of time in Salt Spring, a little bit of time in Nanaimo and Victoria. Beautiful areas. I've had so much fun on the island, and I'll get into some stories. And then prior to that, I was in Lillooet. I'll get into stories there. Prior to that, I was in Maple Ridge. Prior to that, Chilliwack for like a while. So I was in Burnaby last 2 years ago, and I moved towards Chilliwack to kind of leave the city. And I thought things would just be easier, I thought. And I don't think that's possible. It just is the same. There's all of the sameness everywhere you go. Different sameness. Anyways, the specifics will come forward. So I also now have to bridge as to why. Within my sense of livelihood and career, there's a lot of hopping around that I've been doing the last little while. So if you don't know me yet, let me tell you. I used to be a nurse. I worked for about 4 years as an LPN in long-term care facilities. And it was a beautiful position for me. I really blossomed as a caregiver inside of that role. I prioritized interactions and non-pharmacological interventions once I was learning what that really was, what that big pharma was doing. And seeing it firsthand really just lit my fire and guided me to actually stand as a health advocate. And I was learning about alternative medicines within the context of actual real life, roofless, outside of the facility. There's other ways that we handle, the symptoms of imbalance. And when we go for, however long inside of imbalances, it causes us dis-ease. And then thus we go, oh, well, we have to do something about this. And so what do we do? So I've been learning about what to do, right? Because, imbalances, they speak to us on a subtle level first. Very subtle, quiet even. You don't necessarily even notice it. Maybe you're very sensitive and you do, and that's a superpower. That could really benefit you. Maybe you're not so sensitive, and that's also a superpower, and you can handle a lot until no more. And so this comes into the conversation to speak to emotional imbalances, physical imbalances, how we're carrying our actual body, and the rest of it, imbalances within how we're governing ourselves and having exchanges with other people, all kinds of things. Diet, outside time, are we balancing our activities of daily living or not? And so alternative measures, as I speak them now, as alternative, the word itself, it's just another way of handling it. And maybe it's like, the way, but then that way wasn't invested into. And, the people, the Rockefellers, they didn't put money into natural remedies, real medicine. They put money into the pharmacological world, which would then bring them money. They also bought the doctors' schools, and then they told the doctors what they're gonna learn. And what they now know, doctors are doing their job. What they know is to give you a medication for the symptom you present with. And little do they know that your symptom often is a result from being disconnected to your nature, our nature. So alternative medicines really started calling to me as I was in that position, right? I began to discover and study things like Reiki, and I was doing massage as I could because, that's helpful. And then I was healing my own injuries. I had pinched nerves in my neck from car accidents years prior to my recognition of it, and doing yoga on a semi-regular basis. And the healing process, let me tell you, holy. And it still is a process, I think, for all of us, and until for a while. So anyways, as I began discovering what alternative measures were and applying them in my own life, prioritizing myself to be outside and spending time with people I was like-minded, that I had been like-minded with, sentences. The discovery itself showed me a direction change for my career. So I was like, oh, well, I could do this. So I had gone into the thought process to align to maybes of the Reiki, maybe teaching yoga, and then COVID happened. That should be and will be its own video, because I could spend a long time talking about the details of what I went through in that period of time, and thus, we could say this period of time, because is it over? So at that point, I stuck it through, I stayed there, and then really aligned myself to make a move out. I just knew there was the need for me to figure out how to exist differently outside of that place of health. Call it health. Living? Sure. Business, industry. It was that. And so many emotions come up at this point when I talk about this, Let me just pause for a second. There's a lot here. And so the recognition alone, I was figuring it out. moving away from the industry. At that time too, I was really trying to maximize my being and my ability to serve. I was discussing with, dietitians and management, how do I go about increasing the nourishment, the nutrition level of the meals that are served here, because they're the meals that are served here. So like, how can we talk about this? And I was told that this is a long-term care facility, Maddie, and the funding is $7 per person per day, and so we can't afford things that would be nourishing. And the residents, the people I was taking care of and responsible for as their primary caregiver, they were paying thousands of dollars a day to not be nourished, but being taken care of. And so I started getting, I started getting a little bit frazzled, frustrated. I was hitting my head on that roof. And so I left that roof. Just, walked away. Can't change it. Why try? Fighting it does nobody any good. It just stresses them out because they're just doing their job. So I changed my job. And then that just, has been the most adventurous journey since. So I got myself to a yoga teacher training program. That was in Vancouver School of Healing Arts. And at that point, I got myself a job downtown. I applied at a couple restaurants, and I actually got in at a bar, a really big bar, a sports bar, if you'd believe. So the ex-nurse, yogi Maddie Bear, went into the sports bar world, did well. It got me into a nice apartment as I hopped around a bunch of places to get to the nice apartment since I was working. And it was still COVID time, so all of the fun stuff at that time was still happening. And anyways, the bar was hitting me in a certain sense of awareness of everything. I was losing my voice. I was tired, working so late and screaming over loud music and just the whole thing. So I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and I just quit. I didn't even have a job. And I tried to put out there that, oh, hey, like, I can communicate with you if you show up with me in conversations. We can discuss where you're at in your health level. I have all of these lovely notes and lists and what is it called? Screening processes and dots I've been connecting to support anybody that I do communicate with towards what they might, maybe benefit from within their present capacity. And so I jumped in, and without any money to invest in myself, paying rent was a thing that still needed to happen. And, eating and traveling around, these are all things that still are necessary. And so I quickly began to realize that it's hard to not only market oneself, create content, have the conversations, and take care of the day's, doings, as well as maybe have my own social life and creative endeavors, because I'm a creative person. So that balance slowly slipped, and then I got myself into a job. I did windows, doors, and exteriors in a company called Networks, which was awesome. I started doing the painting part because that's what I agreed to. And it was all about, showing up in the sunshine, painting trim, and I eventually was encouraged to hop on the ladder and anyways. I started doing the whole job, no problem, and then winter was coming, and I'm like, touching metal when it's cold with bare hands, I don't understand. I don't get it. So anyways, I was still doing art on some regard on my time off, managed the job, left the job, back to the sports bar, and I left again, and I was doing landscaping the next season as it came to be. Firewood chopping and stacking and weed whacking. I was even bucking trees at one point. Fire smarting. I was in Maple Ridge, I skipped a whole season of Chilliwack in this notion. I moved to Burnaby, went to Chilliwack, worked at a restaurant there, did art, sold art, got into some music scenes there, which was super cool, open mics and jams, starting to get into that comfortable, you know, stage ready, performance ready energy. Just happy to be doing the music and doing the art. And then roommate dynamics, work dynamics. The restaurant used margarine, right? So how could I stay there? Margarine. So I didn't stay there. Time progressed, decisions were made. I bought a camper van, moved to Maple Ridge, was working landscaping and doing the thing outside. And then an opportunity to go to Lillooet showed up within my context of friends. I was brought to Lillooet to do the landscaping thing on a property that needed a lot of work to get ready for the season, you know, because fires might happen. So fire smarting, they call it. And there I was. And then I was offered a spot to bring my bring my van and my cat. Cool, no problem. Yeah, heck yeah. So I hung out in Lillooet a whole bunch, which was awesome for all the reasons. And then winter again was coming. So I was like, I don't have a 4x4 vehicle, and I'm not really ready to be stuck. So through my endeavors, I was made aware and connected with someone from Nanaimo. I went to Enliven, the wellness festival out, it was at Birkin in Pemberton area, near Squamish. And so that, you know, world changing, my world changed. It really showed me so much. And that's a story. I'll talk about that later. But that definitely had brought me to opportunities, and I was welcomed to Nanaimo. I got to park my van, and I was doing like live-in nanny work, basically, hanging out with some kiddos and taking care of, you know, some of the aspects of the property. And then eventually my friend who had me stay there with his wife and 2 boys, I had the, I don't know how to bridge that sentence, but I was asked, but more so I offered to help build some of the house because I have some experience there. So I got to put on the roof, right? This friend of mine and myself, we put on a standing seamless standing roof. Darn it. Standing seamless metal roof. And the pitch was like this, like intense. And it was so fun. And, you know, bending metal, cutting, bending, putting on, installing to the completed project that it was. It was a really good way for me to spend time, still kind of summery out there. Learned a lot. I have strength and skills that were applicable and valued. So that was a good way for me to work. And I was doing a little bit of art. I didn't really have my own space. I was still like, you know, my bedroom was my van. So doing art in the van, not easy. And I had a little table so I could do some things outside when it was daylight. Long story short, not much art has been done in the last little while, but that's a conversation that I can tell you more about another time. Creative process always surges within me. There's so much to put forward, and so music definitely has kind of come in and prioritized. It's prioritized itself. I don't really know. So anyways, I've been writing a whole lot of songs. My time in Lillooet, same idea. I had a lot of space to be with nature and sing to nature with my nature, and finding ways to be you know, clear in my communication, as well as honoring spirit at all times in a ceremonial kind of way, as well as my creative process, you know, has been really fueled by all of my time in the wilderness. I also got to participate and be present in a peyote ceremony up on those mountains in the Yalakam. And you guys, I guess there's room for me to talk about it here. I'm only 19 minutes in this one. So just to open up that little vortex, that time that I was there and for the purpose that it was so healing. And if you aren't familiar with peyote, the idea is we gather for a night. As the sun sets, everybody's kind of arrived already and getting their spot with their special sacred items and, settling into the evening that'll the evening to come. Oh my gosh. And I don't want to rush talking about it because there's so much beauty in the medicine and the frequency that the Merakame held for all of us there that night helped us transform, alchemize, whatever was going on inside of us as individuals together. It was beautiful to share the space. The songs that were shared, we went around in circle with the water drum, and everybody had the opportunity to sing song or listen, and how that connected all of us, how we could hold space together as well as sit within and process with the medicine as it enters in us and makes its presence known. And so it definitely showed a lot within me and brought me to a place of softness. I got to really feel my own grace as well as make room through a lot of tears, but it wasn't an immediate cry. There was a moment where the tears started coming through, and they were so potent to where I was able to feel joy from that space where my tears came through. One prayer that really struck a chord in me was first spoken Spanish, so I didn't even know what was being said. And then it was translated by somebody, part of the host team. The translation was something along the lines of, "Thank you, and may we all acknowledge that we are here today being good children. We could be doing anything, and we're here together tonight in prayer and in ceremony, and we're lifting our hearts and our love to all that is. And then let's take a moment to recognize all those good children out there who are not being treated so good." And in that moment, my heart broke open. Some sort of swell of energy came through me, and I was just sobbing so hard. Not like out loud, like wailing, just like it was full on, just like out of my eyes, and like I was even like runny nose. My nose bled. I was crying so hard. It wasn't, I've had nosebleeds before. It wasn't, an emergency, but it was just intense. And from there, the recognition of all of us here together, we know why we're healing, why we're showing up in the space, and why are we healing. The reasons that medicine calls us. Medicine is many things. It's a multitude of things. Being there in nature, having fresh fruit and foods to eat, good, clean nourishment, clean water, beautiful, aware beings to hold space for our hearts that, maybe carry some troubles, and the freedom to let it out in whatever way, to the fire. Oh, I didn't even mention the fire in the middle. Very important. And there was someone stoking the fire all night. So all night until the dawn, we were there with the medicine, and it just, held us all as we arrived. Definitely a very memorable evening that I wouldn't have been able to be there for if not for having been in Lillooet. It was at my neighbor's place, so like I literally got to scoot over to my neighbor's property and feel at home. No skyscrapers, no rushing of traffic, and this conversation apparently makes me want to cry. It was so peaceful. All the directions were spoken to, and there were candles lit to protect us, and an energetic, circling of our space. So much consideration and care for all the beings that came there. And there were people that came from far, from Squamish and yonder, and they arrived because of the call to be with peyote and the medicine. So Lillooet was a beautiful time, and that ceremony really set the tone. That was just after solstice, summer solstice. And there was a solstice gathering there. I definitely want to be back in Lillooet at one point. There's some beautiful people there that, really are cultivating life in a way that I feel resonance and desire to as well. A lot of farmers and a lot of families and a lot of respectful folk. Yeah. So yeah, I spent a lot of time down by the river singing to her, being cleansed by her. I had a wonderful time cooking every day. It was just so much fun. Little jaunts up the mountain. So that space, very conducive for singing. Oh yeah, and drum circles. There's drum class workshops every Friday. So much beauty of all the beings, what they offer. I even held a mad art event, if you're familiar, from the Chilliwack area. I did one of those things, and it was a display of art and music, and accompanied by food, homemade meals brought to the town hub. It was a really good time, so wholesome. And then, winter was a thing, so I went forward in my endeavors. It brought me to the island, and then there was, within that circle of friends, and I say within the inner circle, there was people putting on an event in Salt Spring. And so off to Salt Spring I went, and I was invited to go to Salt Spring to put my art on a display, have an installation, and maybe sell some stuff. So I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'm an artist, yeah, thank you, and I'll be there. So I bring everything I am, except for my cat, because my cat kind of stayed in Nanaimo. Anyways, I bring everything I am to Salt Spring, set up my art installation. I barely even stay at that installation because there's so much to do, and most importantly, all the songs to sing. So I was in another little tent where a lot of the song circle energy was happening, and we called it I coined it the Sacred Vibe Hub. It was a fun little spot, super cozy, with cushions and furs and blankets and pillows, and it was perfect to bring people in to land and stay a little while. So I was in and out of there mostly, kind of hung out by my art installation a little bit. So hard. Anyways, long story short, I ended up staying on Salt Spring for a while. I was camping and hanging out. Not that I was ready with any sort of senses with my van because it was full of art, but camping happened, and hanging out with some of the travelers that came for the festival, and before they left for the next leg of their journey, we were hanging out and enjoying what Salt Spring had to offer. And then in my personal journey, Maddie climbed a tree, a really big tree. It was probably an oak tree. It was dark, so not really sure. And this was at a dance event, so September 27th-ish. Anyways, relevant because this just happened. Climbs the tree she does. Awesome tree climb. My friend was in the tree, so I followed them up, and it was just a really fun time climbing. And I'm prolonging this next part of the story because, I kind of fell. And the reason I fell, I was climbing with my friend, and they were gonna gift the tree a bracelet, right? So up they go, and they're gonna leave the bracelet at the top of the tree, somewhere high. So I was like, oh, I wonder how high I can climb, feeling safe and all that. So I climb, and my foot made a little slip sound, and my friend's like, you should just you could just hang out at the lower branch and relax. And I'm like, okay, relax, right? Sure. Doing something wrong, can't climb a tree. So I go down, I'm descending, and during my descent, I actually slip. And so at first I slipped and hit a branch, and I don't think too much of it. I'm like, cool, I'm hitting branches, I can catch myself. And then I caught myself with my legs, upside down I was, just boom, legs somehow did the thing. And I was upside down for a few seconds, and I'm like, holy shit, okay. Not climbing, not falling, on the tree, great. Okay, and then my legs gave out. And then I hit the ground. So at that point, it was just a whole bunch of what energy. I hit the ground with my ankle. And ankle first is a great thing because it wasn't head first because I was upside down, right? But I somehow turned and my ankle hit the ground. Great, not my head, but my ankle didn't supporting my entire weight of being, and so it kind of popped out, my foot being like this, it kind of like that. And so story, carries on, and I'm okay, and I see my ankle, I'm like, oh, what? And I just put my hands, and I just, not even much, just the slight shift popped it back in, and another popped out once more and popped it back in, and then it stayed. So I've been on a healing journey on an acute level, and I'm all about alternative ways and healing and empowering individuals. That's what I'm here for. What is healing? It's this. Anyways, so this injury has humbled me. It has shown me what strength I actually do have. I now perceive that I was meant to fall out of the tree on a level that goes beyond even my understanding. I have a pine cone tattoo and a tree tattoo. This is the point in my life where I was not only jobless, had the time to heal, strong enough, really, strong enough to actually go through this healing process that still I'm going through. That still blows my mind. That still I couldn't have planned. And so just knowing, it has shown me a whole lot. And walking with this injury when I couldn't walk, moving through the injury and being held by the community, I was humbled in so many ways, being shown that I am deserving to receive support, that I could ask for help. What? That there are places that I can be and I don't need to do anything to have value. And these are all little lessons that have been coming up for me over the last little while, but they still haven't clicked in, and as well my pace, to slow down in my pace. So before rushing off, hang on, hang out, wait, as well, don't rush off to the next, enjoy, perceive, relish. There's another one, marinate in what is, all of the juicy goodness that is the now moment. even inside of my injury, I was able to enjoy some of that. You know, I had a really positive attitude still. People actually thanked me for my positivity. And in that sense of the people, I had people giving me, you know, very generously what they thought was, you know, help or direction. And so some of the things I had so much gratitude immediately. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, I'll receive. Other things I was saying, thanks, but no thanks. You know, I got this. And so to talk about that a little bit, you know, we'll get specific in the healing realm, how to heal injuries. They're all, you know, very nuanced. Whatever you're going through requires, you know, specificity. I'm gonna say that's a word. There's all the kinds of specifics to whatever you're going through, because that's the case. There's no blanket, do this and it'll heal. You gotta focus on what is. So I was focusing on what is. My friends, you know, they were encouraging me to get an x-ray. So I'm like, yeah, sure, good idea. 6 hours in the hospital later, I got an x-ray. Could they discover anything more than soft tissue damage? Nope. They couldn't see anything past that. So I'm like, great, injured. That's all I need to know. I wasn't weight bearing. They splinted it. Sure, I'll take a splint. Thanks. And they gave me crutches. Yes to the crutches. So I want to talk about it a little bit, because this is a part of my healing and this is a part of my story as to why I am able to show up in these conversations, and as to why I'm even here in this video. I've come from all of these places, right? I've been doing all of these things. I love the conversation side of things, and I am somebody who not only has been injured physically, emotionally, in all the kinds of ways, then thus I have the transparency to say I don't know everything, but we heal, we learn, we do it. Our bodies are geared for it if we give them the environment to do so. And so coming from all these environments, I've really learned what is the balance point and how to move forward. There's acute injuries, there are, you know, long-term chronic, you know, ailments and conditions that many of us are going through. And how do we go from there? How do we navigate this place? What can we learn or hear or perceive that'll support us as medicine, as we are, as experiences can be to us? Yes, I know that injury I went through, I needed. But not until I got there, not until I was experiencing that, you know, I needed the injury to know I needed the injury. And so we don't know necessarily until we know. Showing up in the space of not knowing, meeting people in that space, that's where all the discovery is. We can unpack the information as it's provided. So I've learned a little bit in my days as the healthcare professional I was, and inside of, you know, the spaces where my job was a thing. I can be specific about my ankle, or I can just speak generally that there are offerings that the Western medicine model has, and then there are other ways, alternatives, and I love alternatives. So the splint helped a little bit, right? It helped remind me as I was sleeping that I had an injury in the first place. But what I was doing already was like sensing how much range of motion do I have? Can I move my ankle in these ways? I had access to all of my range of motion. There was no severing of anything. Great. I had the ability, it was, you know, swollen immediately and very limited as well. But I was still able to apply myself and investigate and feel out and not shy away from some uncomfortability, meet myself there and go, okay, that's all happening. I was elevating and I got the comfrey on there. I took the splint off after like 3 days because it was heavy and it was hard to lift my leg around, and I also wanted to start moving my ankle. Circulation, range of movement, range of motion is healing. You know, if we lock ourselves into one static way of being all the time and we don't have this broad range of expression, we can experience damage from that. If we're limited and boxed in and kept locked into a certain thing, we need the freedom. We need to be able to move and discover movements that, anyways, come to us. So through that injury, I was communicating myself to other people, and I'm like, yeah, this is what it is. Oh yeah, like injuries, I've been healing them, and there's modalities. Oh, I got some acupuncture. I could go do more of that. That's definitely on my list. Powerful healing. I've had IMS for other injuries. Acupuncture for this was great. It was also a full body treatment, and that's the other side. Another part of the conversation with injuries is that it's not a isolated fix the thing like maybe a cut might be. Sure, yeah, find the exceptions. Yes, they're there, but often with a certain depth of injury, there's an integration aspect. And I don't even know where it is. It's in my van. I have a book. I should flash it. It's a metaphysical anatomy book, and it's so exciting for me. I've been talking about it a little bit everywhere I go. I got this new book. I love books. So the connection to the depth of the physical experience is there whenever there's something happening in the body. Say you keep hitting, your right knee, you keep smoking it on things, and now it's this like swollen thing. You're like, whoa, like what's going on with my knee? Or like say your knee's tight, you have tightness in your calf. Anyways, right leg focus. So this has a energetic connection. There's an emotional connection to whatever is going on here on another level. Like, they say left is the feminine and right is the masculine. This is the part of the body that receives, and this is the part of the body that contributes, that gives. The left is also the past, and the right is forward, future, progression. So these ideas, there's so many little nuances to them, and it's a study, it's a science. Metaphysical anatomy is a way to put that out there, that there's things there we can find facts and truth. It's real. So through our experiences, we can discover where we're at in time and space. Why am I experiencing an injury in my left ankle? Oh yeah, like she fell out of a tree. No. Like, why is there an injury here? Why am I struggling in my sense of career, right? Like what? These are all just examples. Why do I self-sabotage, right? There are answers to the roots of things that maybe we can start to talk to and have actual there's a phrase there. Remedy. So how do we remedy the actual reasons? If we don't look at the deeper meaning, there's opportunity there to investigate why. So anyways, a lot of investigation in my world, and floating around lasted a while, doing massages. I'm really happy to do massages whenever I get the chance, having a space to work out of, or going to another person's home. It's a wonderful therapy, and I enjoy serving in that way. I've done a little bit of teaching of yoga. I've done some cleaning, deep cleaning. It's a fun time for me too, getting into it, no problem. I've sold some art, like I've been mentioning. So these are all little jobs for me in the last little while. As I also have been dealing with the injury, I couldn't get back into some of the ideas of work. So this is to bridge as to why I've been traveling around. I'm just kind of like taking care of this injury and communicating a whole bunch, because my mouth still works. My brain usually works. Maximizing my opportunities within time and space, for sure. That's all I can say that I can do. I wish I could be on my feet, or now I'm pretty well there, 97% I'd say. But even walking around all day at a restaurant would be a little bit challenging for me. I'm limited a tiny little bit to how much I can be walking around. I wasn't even walking for weeks, let alone much, and now I'm back on my feet, but I'm not trying to run. I'm trying to walk, even crawl, move slowly, baby steps. And I'm conveying this to you as I wrap up my personal endeavors. The story of me for the last little while. What I come forward in my offerings, what I come forward with as my offerings, I offer, space first and foremost. I love holding space for people to be heard, to communicate themselves. I do tarot and oracle card readings. I'm a fan of singing songs, so I've been doing a lot of music practice, and I sing the songs. Oh, busking, yeah, did a bit of that. It's hard these days in the loudness of the city. I love soft, quiet, resident, acoustical resonance spaces that are resonant. City, oh, I'll get there. Jams where I'm mic'd and ready to go, great time. Concerts coming at you, song circles, been hosting some of those. Cacao ceremonies, tea services, been doing a little bit of that. Making baby steps in that part of my being. Because I do it for myself when I have my own space, but I haven't had my own apartment in a long time. I don't need my own apartment. I love to coexist. I've been doing the shared community spaces where I love collaborating in meals. I can even cook the whole thing, top to bottom, no problem. I know I love decorating and rearranging. Wherever I go, I maximize myself, I'm telling you. And we're almost at 50 minutes here in this conversation. So I hope you're getting a bit of a sense about, what I'm here for, what I like, what I've gone through. That's only at least a little bit, right? We're very complex beings, right? And I'm able to speak my personal story and bridge some of the themes about how I show up in this world. I left a career to be actual, to be of actual service, to be real medicine. The perspectives alone were a bit to navigate, and even inside the last little while, what is our value as humans? We can, as individuals, sense and have that openness to our being as immeasurably valuable. It doesn't matter if you're clocking in to a 9-to-5 or a part-time job. It doesn't matter if you have anybody else tell you that you're priceless, because as humans, this is fact, undeniable. It comes up in my songs a little bit. My poetry. Oh yeah, I'm writing poetry. I'm making a poetry book. Nearly done that. T-shirts, poetry, coming soon to you. Online stores are hard to create. Working on it. Because to create a message for to carry that we are divine, multidimensional, cosmic, to remind ourselves that we are limitless, that we have so much potential within our being. And whatever ways we can discover that, may we discover, may we encourage ourselves, not the opposite. May we show up for ourselves and thus remind others they can show up for themselves in bigger ways, in more loving ways, in more well-rounded ways, holistic ways. So yeah, that's the term. Without saying it, I was trying to say it. Holistic medicine, holistic mentor. There are ways to measure health level, and that is the way to communicate well-being. When we say like, hey friend, good to see you, take care, what does that mean? Are you taking care of the essentials that create this experience, this state, this place within your container? So I'm here to encourage you to do all that you can, nothing more. Just do what you can. Start there. You know, we grow from our place of beginning, and that's all we can do. Finding contentment and satisfaction in our ever evolving evolution. And here's my version of it. So, moral of the story: climb trees in daylight. Get outside to connect to your breath and a greater sense of what is. Know you have purpose. Take rest. Eat well. Nourish well. Hydrate well. Move your body. Move your body. Communicate who you are with those who receive you for who you are. Authenticity. And believe that there's more. Oh, one more thing though. I think I said it all. One more thing I can say is, from my heart to yours, I'm sending you peace, 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 love, and mad ease.